Before the brands, before the rush, before the money talk louder than trust, there was a plan, and there were people who listened, yeah. Before hashtags, before the flex, seeds passed hand in hand, not checks. Skunk in the soil, history alive, not a myth, not a trend, it survived. They didn't flip it, didn't erase, didn't put a barcode on its face. They asked one thing, where'd you come from? Let the roots answer, let the truth run. DNA don't lie, it remembers the path. Every grow room, echoing back. From Sam to the hills, from care to code, preserved in the open, not locked in a vault. Let the plant speak, let the people be heard. Every root got a story, every seed got a word. Let the plant speak, no rewrite, no spin. If you're part of the culture, then your voice belongs in. Let the plant speak, let the people be heard. Every root got a story, every seed got a word. Let the plant speak, no rewrite, no spin. If you're part of the culture, then your voice belongs in. Humble grace didn't chase the crown. They slowed it down when the noise got loud. Ask the growers, ask the land. What does ethics really mean by hand? Not who owns it, but who protects. Who shows respect when the market shifts. Legacy ain't a logo or a name. It's how you carry the torch, how you tend the flame. When ethics missing, people fade. Culture dressed up for a trade. But when ethics present, roots run deep. Farmers protected, promises keep. Let the plant speak, let the people be heard. Every grow, every trial, every quiet word. Let the plant speak, from the past to the now. We don't rush the answers, we listen how. Let the plant speak, let the plant speak. If we don't define what matters today, someone else will write it their way. So pause for a second, scan the code, add your chapter to the road. This ain't about right or wrong, it's about where you stand, where you're from, what you learn, what you've seen, what this plan has really meant. Let the plan speak, let the people be heard. Every answer a root, every truth a seed song. Let the plan speak, this is how we protect, not by owning the story, but by showing respect. And let the plan speak. This is preservation, not promotion. This is listening, not rewriting. Be part of the record. HumboldGrace.org.
Big rips, big cuff, 420 for 20% off. The Bungfathers got the stash, 420 for 20% off. Make it last. Hand blown glass, hits so clean. SpecialKGlass.net, live the dream. When a planet speaks, those who are listening respond. In Miami, something shifted. Art became a signal, movement became meaning. Peace lights ignited across the city, marking the beginning of our first 1 million imprints of human resonance. Through scavengers, participation replaced spectatorship. Play became purpose. That signal did not go unnoticed.
From the resonance fields of the cosmos, the Gaia Guardians awakened.
Not to rule, but to protect and resonate. Footprints of peace. Peace lights, scavengers, the Gaia Guardians. This is not an escape.
invitation. And the planet is listening. Footprints of Peace.com.
Change doesn't wait. Why should you? Welcome to the Gaia Guild, Global Action Impact Awareness. At GaiaGuild.com, thousands are coming together. Creators, innovators, changemakers, building a future that matters. Your membership unlocks events, classes, and connections to spark action. And explore the G3 collection and exclusive guild merch at GaiaGuild.shop. This isn't just talk, it's movement in action. Gaia Guild. Join today. Become a guilder. Visit GaiaGuild.shop.
My name is Deborah. I'm 67, a retired kindergarten teacher with arthritis and high blood pressure. 7 years ago, my daughter introduced me to CBD oil. I was terrified it would make me high, but she explained CBD doesn't impair you. I tried it, and everything changed. After knee replacement surgery, CBD helped me heal so fast that 6 weeks later, I was walking on the beach pain-free. Now I carry my CBD roller everywhere. I sleep better, have less pain, and my blood pressure is normal thanks to CBD.
It's time for Sweet Home Cannabama, a show that'll answer all your questions, provide accurate information, and dispel the myths of cannabis. And have your specific questions answered by emailing Jennifer@cannabama.com or text or call 343-0106. And now, for all things cannabis in Alabama, here's your host, Jennifer Boozer.
Welcome to the show, everybody. I'm your host, Jennifer Boozer Stewart. You're listening to Sweet Home Cannabama right here on FM Talk 106.5 every Monday night at 7 o'clock Central Time. And we want to be the ones to help bridge the gap between the public and the plant and the professionals and the people. So we are here to educate, advocate, unify, and celebrate this plant, even in the state of Alabama where we don't have any access to it. I usually have a lot of current events. I don't really have any. The only new news is the same news, that there are still no hemp retail licenses given in the state of Alabama from ABC. No idea when that's going to happen. I think the stores are still struggling to figure out that whole municipality approval process and navigate that. ABC is not making it easy. And, it's starting to more and more every day look like this was the plan all along. No business that I know of can survive having no products available or closing their doors for 26 days now. So keep the people of Alabama who are still trying to chug along in the hemp industry in your prayers, because they are not making any money and they still got to pay those bills, which is why Cannabama is now closed. Anyway, I want to go ahead and jump into the show tonight. I have a very special guest tonight, and I want to go ahead and introduce him. His name is Dr. Barry Morrison. Joining us tonight is Dr. Barry Morrison, clinician educator and one of the leading voices in cannabinoid education, instructing not only patients, but doctors across the country. With over 30 years of experience and a background in pain management, Dr. Barry has worked with countless patients battling chronic pain, right on the front lines of the opioid crisis. That experience sparked a mission to educate, not medicate. He's the creator of the CBD Masterclass, a powerful self-paced internet-based program breaking down the science, history, and real-world use of CBD so people finally understand how it works and how to use it correctly. Dr. Barry believes when you give people knowledge, you give them power. And tonight he's here to do exactly that. And I agree. We want to teach the people what it is, what it does, how it works, and how to use it. Welcome to the show, Dr. Barry Morrison.
Thank you, Jennifer, and it's a pleasure. I've heard a lot about your show, and now I get a chance to actually participate. So it's an honor, and I thank you for having me on.
Well, I appreciate you being here from the very, very start when this station came to me and said, hey, the topic of CBD is pretty hot 6.5 years ago, 7 years ago. We want to have a show about it, and we'd like it to be you. I know God gave me a vision and the name Cannabama and a burning desire to teach people so that they could take this plant and change their own lives. So education is the first step to that. And then, of course, quality products. So I appreciate you being an educator and a provider of quality products, especially as a medical professional. So thank you so much for being willing to do this.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, let's get into it. Tell us a little bit about what you do, who you are.
Well, my name is, as you said, Dr. Barry Morrison. I've been a practicing chiropractor since 1984. When I graduated from Palmer College of Chiropractic, and I've spent many years working with patients, obviously as a chiropractor, with a lot of neuromusculoskeletal type of conditions and different types of problems. But what I noticed is that there is one factor that plays a very important role in almost every health challenge that all of us have, and that is inflammation. And by dealing with inflammation and working towards solving the problem of what's causing inflammation to last for a long period of time. And don't get me wrong, inflammation is very, very important to our body in the healing process.
Right.
There are immune cells that produce cytokines, and they're the ones that stimulate and modulate the inflammatory response of the body. And that's a protective response.
Right.
And that protective response has a time frame. And after that time frame, it now needs to be removed so the body can then go in and remodel and repair everything that needs to be repaired. But in the situation where there is a cytokine storm that happens and it lasts for an extended period of time, that's when we start having serious problems that lots of times then develop into autoimmune type of disorders because it's coming from our immune system.
Right.
So what we want to be able to do is we want to be able to trace everything back to the source of what is causing that.
Right.
And one of the things that we have found through our research and through working with patients is if we attack the inflammatory response that has been going on for a long period of time, if we attack that, everything else cascades down below that. And eventually what we typically see we'll see that pain is one of the factors that we work with. And that dissipates right along with the inflammatory response.
Absolutely. I know during COVID, I think we started hearing that term that you just mentioned, cytokine storm. And there was a lot of discussion about what would exacerbate that versus what wouldn't. And I think it was ibuprofen. You shouldn't take ibuprofen if you have COVID because it can cause a cytokine storm. And so I think a lot of people maybe are familiar with that term, but not really what it means. So I appreciate you explaining that. Inflammation is a natural response. It's when I think in today's society, when our bodies are inundated with things that cause inflammation, and then we aren't getting rid of it, that it becomes an autoimmune problem. It becomes, for me, juvenile arthritis. I'm 47 and I've had that diagnosis since I was 15, and it does cause a lot of chronic pain. So I'm very excited to get into this with you. How did you get into, now you were a practicing chiropractor all this time. How did you get into the business of hemp and CBD products?
Oh, it's a very unique story. Probably no one has ever followed this path before.
Yeah.
But as a doctor, I recommend certain things for my patients to avoid, and one of those is motocross racing, riding motorcycles, and so on and so forth. Well,
for obvious reasons.
Very obvious. And so anyhow, long story short, I broke my back motocross racing in 2 different places and severely herniated 2 discs in my lower back. And that ended up putting me into a position that I was left unable to walk at certain times because of the amount of pain that I had. And I lost a lot of time from my practice. So what I decided to do is I decided, with the pain just escalating and continuing, I decided to go ahead and retire. But to be able to keep up my license, doctors need to take a certain amount of continuing education to be able to keep up their license. So one of the classes that I picked was in Denver, Colorado. Was a class about cannabis,
right?
Primarily about hemp and the truths, the myths, and everything. They debunked everything and proved all the other things.
Right.
And so what I found that they had a sample of a small little bottle of a tincture, a CBD high concentrated tincture, a full spectrum tincture. I tried that sample. Now, prior to that, I had a pain level on a 1 to 10 level. I had about a 7 or an 8 pain.
Mm-hmm.
After taking that CBD, it had worked my pain level all the way down to a number 2 pain.
Yes.
Now, it wasn't gone completely. It wasn't
right.
gone, but it was something that it made a dramatic change. And that, at that point, I realized that was my calling, was to take what I pride myself on in my practice, and that was educating my patients. I took that pride in education and then spilled that over and molded it, blended it together with the education of CBD.
Right.
And that's how I began, and decided to start my own CBD brand, and then continue with education, which I truly feel that the success of CBD is going to be dictated by the amount of education that can be obtained.
I absolutely 1000% agree with you. I've been doing this on every Monday night for, like I said, 6.5 years. Been doing it out of my shop, even before that, out of my home for over 8 years. And there's still so much work to do to educate people. I think that people like us who are on fire for that aspect of it are important and too few and far between. A lot of people like to just say, oh, it works. I can't really explain it, but here you go. And a lot of times those same people aren't great at vetting products or whatever. But I do think education breeds normalization, and normalization is where we find our freedom. Because when people aren't scared of something, you can't fearmonger them into believing what you want. When we come back from the break, we're going to talk to Dr. Barry about pain and inflammation. Stay with us.
Being blind doesn't always look how others may think. Stargardt disease was supposed to define me.
Retinitis pigmentosa aimed to overwhelm my family.
It tried to cut me down. A blinding eye disease attempted to force me away from doing what I was born to do.
But it cannot stop me. I have the tools.
I will keep moving forward.
Pushing past the limits of this disability.
I know where to find support and where I can be seen.
Loss of sight won't blind our vision. Innovative research, educational resources, supportive community. The Foundation Fighting Blindness is leading the charge in finding treatments and cures for blinding diseases. Learn more at fightingblindness.org. A public service message from the Foundation Fighting Blindness.
Tom Claxton and Cal Walters, a couple of old Marines giving a little weekday R&R refuge to stimulate your senses.
People are aroused. I haven't seen people so aroused in a very, very long time.
The Scuttlebutt Network radio program, every Wednesday night from 8 till 9 p.m. on FM Talk 106.5. Your voice of the veterans for the veterans. Tune in, sound off, and sound off like you got a pair. Hoorah!
Welcome back to Sweet Home Cannabama. Now, with all the information you want about cannabis, here's your host, Jennifer Boozer.
Welcome back to the show. Tonight, we're talking with Dr. Barry Morrison about pain, inflammation, and CBD. Dr. Barry, before we get into pain and inflammation, I do want to spend a little bit more time talking about the importance of education. How important has it been for you when you discovered this amazing thing? And I have a similar story about how trying it one time was literally changed my life and the total trajectory of my life. I'm sitting here because of that day. And so how did you take that back to your practice? You know, I know you still own the practice and you still work with people on this. How important is teaching them what it is and even what it isn't in all of that?
Well, I think the most important part is the fact that, you know, a lot of people feel like they have an understanding of what things of what cannabis is really all about.
Right.
But you know, I had an opportunity. I spent several years working with a continuing education program. I was hired on as a faculty member to be their cannabis expert. I've done a lot of research and different things. They sought me out to have me as a faculty member with their organization, and we went around the country talking with doctors and me educating doctors on what cannabis is, what hemp is, CBD, THC, and the whole 9 yards.
Mm-hmm.
And I explained all that to them. But one thing that I noticed, even in their education level, they didn't know hardly anything about CBD.
Right.
They didn't know that there was a system built within our body called the endocannabinoid system.
Right.
And that system is designed and mimicked from what the plant can produce to be able to fuel itself, to work, and to do many, many different things. But they had very little knowledge or understanding. I mean, and if you just took a look at some of the questions that they asked, you could definitely tell, you got a clue that they didn't have an idea what CBD was really all about.
Right.
But the fact was that I spent a lot of time, I spent several years educating doctors, which they were very reluctant on being able to share that with their patients. So I then later on, I focused on trying to educate the internet, and I tried to educate everybody. Again,
good luck.
Yeah, that is funny, isn't it?
Yes, I too have tried to educate the internet.
Well, the thing is that let me get it off there. The thing is that everybody feels that they have an understanding of it, but
yes,
it's been shaped by things that have happened in the past, probably a little bit before your time. Reefer madness, and it's reefer madness is still filtered down to today.
It is, yes.
Everybody thinks that, you know, prohibition is the solution for all this, which is absolutely the wrong thing. And history has proven that prohibition doesn't solve anything.
Right.
But the problem that I see is that people hear things and they take it for being the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I decided to do. Is I decided to not just work with doctors, but I wanted to work with patients, not just in my practice, but I wanted to work with anybody that had a desire to learn a little bit about CBD and where is it at? Where is it going? How does it work in the body, the physiology? And I tell you, it's something that it makes a big difference when a person can go through a program. And I designed a specific program. It's called the Masterclass, the CBD Masterclass. Great name for it.
Mm-hmm.
But the CBD Masterclass is designed to go from learning the history and the science and everything about the CBD molecule that there is to be learned out there. I put together for patients or customers that would like to go ahead and get onto a program that is a self-paced program and allows them to spend as much time or as little time working with this whole program. There's 15 different lessons. And like I said, it goes from A to Z on anything and everything you could think of on or regarding CBD. But it's one of those things where it's a program. And by the time you get done with that, just like that continuing education program that I went to in Denver, Colorado, by the time I got done with that, 95% of everything that I was taught was inaccurate.
Yep.
And again, going back to that reefer madness mentality, it's actually a shame. So we've had to dig ourselves out of this. But again, my calling has definitely been working with the education and helping people understand the truth. There's people that want to know what this is about. That's the key right there.
Where can we find your education program before I ask another question?
Yeah, but that is, I set it up as cbdmasterclass.com.
Okay.
So you can go on to cbdmasterclass.com and you can subscribe. There's a one-time fee on that, and it gives you lifetime membership to be able to learn on the different things. And if you realize that in 1988, I believe it was when the endocannabinoid system was first discovered.
Yep.
So doctors that have graduated before 1988, which was a lot out there, those are the doctors that have no clue of what the endocannabinoid system is.
Right. And I've also heard that only maybe 1 in 9 medical schools even discuss the endocannabinoid system or cannabis at all in medical school.
And what I've heard is that they only have one slide that's put up onto the screen that talks about it.
Well, it's funny because I know in the state of Alabama, we are about to have a functional, we hope, we've been told for almost 5 years, but we are about to have a functional medical cannabis program, and the doctor certification, and it may have changed since they passed the law, probably not. But from what I understand, the doctors are only required to take a 4-hour online class. And to me, that's crazy. I could sit here and for 4 hours talk about it and never scratch the surface, and much less kind of as a curriculum where it's something that they could take and use. I mean, heck, we could sit here for 4 hours and tell anecdotal stories about all the things we've seen it be used for. And so I think that it is definitely grossly under discussed in the medical community. And with 40 plus states having medical cannabis programs, how is it not in a requirement, a whole course on it, not a requirement in every medical school and nursing school, pharmacy school, anybody, even physical therapy programs and chiropractic programs and dental programs, anything to do with touching the human body. Why are we not teaching this extensively by now if we're dispensing it, medically as a medicine in over 40 states?
Yeah, and believe it or not, there's well over 25,000 research articles that have been written just on CBD alone. Mm-hmm. And then you add in the other cannabinoids and cannabis, it just multiplies. So there is plenty of research out there on one study is done on PubMed, which I've seen probably houses the majority of the medical research that has been done on it. Mm-hmm. So that plays a big part because there's plenty of research out there. When doctors say, well, there's not enough information for me to recommend or to suggest that you use CBD.
Right.
But understand this, there's plenty of it out there. It's just that they're not looking for it.
Right. And I think, we can all agree that medical school programs are churning out a lot of prescription writers, pharmaceutical medication providers. And there's not enough discussion on things like nutrition, on supplements and herbs, and besides cannabis, there's just not enough preventative natural medicine being taught, if any at all. And a lot of people are falling through the cracks of conventional medicine, and they're just out there floundering. And those are the people that we've seen the most success with using the plant, especially with CBD. The people who have tried everything that conventional medicine has to offer and still are in abject misery, and be able to give them the tools, the education, and the quality product to give them their quality of life back. And I don't think that can be overstated.
Yes. Yeah. I would have to agree with, I have to definitely agree with that. And I think that's where the education comes in.
Yeah.
There's so much for us to be educated. We need to go through that and understand what it does. And there's a lot of things out there that say that CBD does this, and this, and it doesn't do that.
Right.
And I can speak for it. So there's unfortunate in both directions that,
of course,
that are inaccurate.
Right. And I think, too, we as a society have been sort of conditioned to just go to a doctor's office, take whatever they say, take that piece of paper to the pharmacy. We don't look at that insert. I don't know why they bother printing it. We don't look at the side effects. We don't look at what's in it. We don't. We just say, oh, my doctor said I need it, pop it in. And then, maybe it works. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe you end up on 5 more because of the side effects, and I don't know anybody. I'm sure you've never met a patient that says, hey, I'm on 8 prescriptions and I feel amazing. So there's a lot of, and I think too, with this information age that we live in, people are smart enough to look around and say, this isn't working, but I've seen this video about this thing or read an article about this thing. And then they're kind of left on their own to go figure it out. And like you said, there's a lot of bad information out there. So it is especially important for people like you, especially as a medical professional, to set the record straight and teach people the right information and provide resources. Because when I got started in this, there was no education. There was none. Right. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing, because I intrinsically knew that people, my mother, she thought, oh my God, she's going to end up in a ditch with a needle in her arm. It's weed. As a 30-year kindergarten teacher, I'm a child of the 80s and the 90s through the DARE program and the war on drugs. Nope, that's weed. Not doing that. And I would have missed all of this by a hair. When we come back from the break, more with Dr. Barry Morrison. Stay with us.
FM Talk 1065, the Gulf Coast Weather Authority, and Dr. Bill Williams.
The Gulf Coast can expect clear skies tonight. It will be very cold with lows around 20 degrees at daybreak. For Tuesday, sunny with highs in the upper 40s. And for Wednesday, sunny with afternoon readings in the lower 50s. This is meteorologist Dr. Bill Williams for FM Talk 1065.
FM Talk 1065, the Gulf Coast Weather Authority.
I'm Roseanne Haven from WKRG News 5. Mobile police have identified a man found dead on Smith Street Friday morning, 30-year-old Thomas Nelson Jr. He was found near train tracks. Police believe he was hit by a train, but won't know for certain until an autopsy is complete. In the meantime, if you know anything about the incident, officers want to hear from you. No word on injuries regarding a crash that shut down westbound I-10 this morning near the Daphne exit. An 18-wheeler overturned. Neighbors are helping one another in the Grove community of Foley after Sunday storms caused damage. As many as 60 houses are damaged, but no injuries reported. A portion of Water World Road in Baldwin County will close temporarily next week. Highway crews will be replacing cross drains. I'm Roseanne Haven from WKRG News 5. Local coverage you can count on.
Mobile was the first city to celebrate Mardi Gras, and the party is still going on. Whether you're a first-time visitor or a veteran parade goer, we want you to have fun but stay safe. Stay with your group. Designate a meeting spot in case you get separated. Hide valuables. Stay behind barricades. Drink responsibly or not at all. Plan your transport. Watch for heavy throws, especially with the kids around. See a video by Googling Mardi Gras safety tips.
Welcome back to Sweet Home Cannabama. Now with all the information you want about cannabis, here's your host, Jennifer Boozer.
Welcome back, everybody, to Sweet Home Cannabama. Tonight, we are talking with Dr. Barry Morrison, who is a retired chiropractor and a producer of amazing, great quality CBD products and an educator not only of the people, but of the medical profession as well. Dr. Barry, how often do you see people, patients seeking pain relief specifically, or help with their inflammation?
Jennifer, I'd probably have to say that is the number one reason that I see people who are seeking to use CBD or having issues that CBD could really help with.
Right.
What I typically find is when the average patient that I've had that have gone on to and utilizing CBD, the first thing that they notice is that their mind starts clearing. They get a calm feeling, not to the point of a euphoric effect, because CBD is not going to cause that euphoric psychotropic effect as a THC will do. But what they do is they have that calming, relaxing feeling.
Yes.
Second, they notice that joints that they've had problems with, that maybe just minor problems, they'll notice those joints working a little bit better.
Absolutely.
The inflammation is reducing. And the more we reduce the inflammation, the more we take the pressure off the nerves that are causing and creating the pain. And that is the thing that it works out. So it goes from almost a mind type of relaxing to more the inflammation is diminished. And then that diminishment of the inflammation automatically lowers the pain sensitivity and allows the person to continue to move on. And again, like in my situation, I still have a number 2 or number 3 pain out of 1 to 10 in my back,
right?
Which I'll probably always have,
right?
But it's no longer a 7 or an 8 pain, so it's decreased, but I still do have some. So again, to answer your question, the majority of my patients and the majority of the people that I talk with are the ones that typically do have pain and inflammatory problems that develop. And realizing that inflammation is the starting point of almost every process and health challenge that we face in our lifetime.
Yep. I tell people all the time, every dis-ease, disorder, or discomfort starts with inflammation. Every breaking down, malfunctioning in your body can be traced to inflammation. And I also tell people that look around you, everything we're eating, if it's even real food, the medications we take, the air we breathe in, even, you may not drink tap water, but you're breathing it in as steam in the shower. The lotions and creams and deodorant and shampoo, everything is toxic. Everything is causing the body to try to defend itself. And so then you throw in stress and that cortisol dump. And for people like me with complex PTSD, that always on fight or flight mode, that calm you mentioned. When you're in a constant cycle of pain, even your muscles are locked up because, you're just like tense all the time. It's stressful. You can't enjoy anything. It affects every area of your life. So that calm that comes over you and then the relief in your joints, it to me was miraculous. And another thing that I think that for me, and I know a lot of my customers, with particular joints, I had a torn rotator cuff, and some mornings, if I slept on it wrong, reach in to grab the milk and just drop it and just useless arm. And I could put a topical on, which we know uses the receptors in the skin. It's like spot treatment. And that topical within a few minutes improves my range of motion, my ability to use my arm again, not just the pain relief, but the flexibility in the body, which helps too with movement. And I think it's amazing because it allows people, it helps build and maintain muscle mass. That's another thing for somebody who's not very active because they're in constant pain. That ability to get those muscles moving and working and get your blood flowing because it's a natural vasodilator. All of those things that we could go on and on and on about are a fantastic combination. But the detoxification of the body of those sources of inflammation, I think, is the most important thing. And people just don't realize it. It is just as simple as that.
Yeah, it definitely plays a very big role. One thing that I did just recently do, and that is I'm now working with store owners that sell CBD, and I'm working with those store owners now to educate their people behind the counter. Mm-hmm. And that's going to be an important point because that's the point of contact that the individual has that's looking for CBD information or CBD treatment.
Yes.
They come in and I'm teaching them what they can and what they can't say. They can't do any diagnosing.
Right.
They can't really do any recommending, but there's ways to get around that. And that's what I educate. So I take the workload off of the owners of the stores. by educating their staff for them. And we do that through Zoom calls, and we do that through one-to-one training. So it works out very good.
Yes, I think I can attest to the fact that that is a very important factor, because what my business was boots on the ground. And when we opened, there was no one else in Alabama. There was no one else from Pensacola to Biloxi down here. And that education, making sure my employees were as educated as me, so that when I wasn't there, because it is a huge workload for the owner who's got everything invested. So it's much more important to them to get it right. But when you can instill a love for that education in your employees, they will get better results with their interactions with the customers. And my son worked as a sales rep in my store as I was building it, and I would have people come in and look me dead in the face and say, "Where's Isaiah?" Because that's who they were used to working with. Because they knew he had whatever answer that they needed. Education for the owners of these shops and their staff is of the utmost importance. A lot of people will order online, but what they really crave, I never could get online sales because people wanted to come in and have a human interaction, because it's such a big topic and they had so many questions that they wanted to come in and have that face-to-face. So you're right. I'm glad you're out there doing that, because I think that's where we fall short. Is everybody knows the top 5 facts on a brochure from whatever brand they sell, but they don't ever really get into the meat of it. And I think that's where they sell the customer short.
Yeah, they definitely do. And I found that by going through this education process and teaching everybody that is educating patients from behind the counter, if we teach them the proper things to work with, how it works within the body, what we do is we give them confidence.
Yes.
And confidence then breeds consistency, because they answer the same questions each and every time. It's not memorization, it's learned.
Yes.
And then that builds compliance. Because in every store, we've got to be compliant, because our doors could be shut by the government at any time.
Yes, they can.
And that compliance, consistency, and confidence all builds trust. And trust is what then leads the patient to purchase the product. If they don't, lots of times they're still confused.
Right.
So it needs to be done in a proper fashion.
I agree. And 2, when you're talking about something that people have tried and they know that it works and they need it, but maybe it's a financial struggle for them, to get them over the buyer's remorse walking out the door, and not, they go home and they're unsure. They don't really have their questions answered. They just spent $80 on a bottle that's this big, and they're like, this can't possibly be the miracle that I hope it is. And so they don't follow directions, or they don't have any directions, or they talk themselves out of it and the consistency isn't there. And you and I both know consistency is key with this product. And I think that you're right. The more confident that the person presenting the product to them is, the more confident that they will feel in trying it. And also, just what you said about the government coming in and compliance. You're right. If you're not confident and you're not out there in the public saying, hey, I'm not doing anything wrong, here's what I am doing. When the local police know that you're doing what you're doing for the right reasons, it makes a difference, and it makes your customers feel more safe to come in.
So I designed another master class within that for retail shops. Just specifically for retail shops, to take the pressure, to take the workload, and the consistency, like I said, is going to be something that everybody needs to be consistent. And you got to know that you can't diagnose any condition.
Right.
And you can't make recommendations based on something that you think they may have, because you're not a doctor.
Right.
And that's the
and it all goes back to this mountain of information. You never know what the next person's education level is. Like I told you the other day, they might be wandering into your shop thinking it's a coffee shop, and you're like, nope, surprise. And they've never even heard of it. So you have to start at the beginning, and it just depends on what they're coming in with. So I know we kept a fat stack of educational, like a dictionary of terms and all this. It takes months for me to train somebody and be comfortable leaving them alone in the store, because I don't want someone leaving confused or with the wrong information, because that information will perpetuate itself by word of mouth, good or bad.
And most store owners that are CBD shop owners, their first employee, their process of learning and education lasts this long.
Right.
And the next one comes in, it's this long, and then this long, and then this long. And then pretty soon you're giving them a pamphlet and tell them to read it. And unfortunately, now we get confusion. And when the customer comes in, they don't learn what it's all about.
Well, and they don't read that brochure any more than they read the insert from the pharmacy, like I said earlier. They're like, oh, I'll just try it. There's a massive difference. There's little things. Putting the oil in your mouth and swallowing it immediately has a totally different outcome than putting it under your tongue and holding it there for at least a minute or two to get the buccal absorption, sublingual absorption. There's ways to do this. How it works and how to use it is just as important as what it is and what it does.
And that's what I go through in my CBD masterclass for patients. The CBD masterclass goes through and explains how long you should hold it in your mouth.
Right.
And why do you need to hold it in your mouth?
Yes.
And what that does is that's sending the CBD into the circulation right away, goes to the heart, and pumped throughout the body.
Yeah.
And then eventually gets to the liver and it's removed. That's the liver's job.
Right.
But in this situation, if you swallow it right away, you're now going in, the digestive system is going right to the liver, and it's not circulating throughout the body. So you're not getting the full effect of it.
Right.
So you can be taking it, but you can be taking it in the wrong fashion for the delivery of what that is.
Right.
And one very interesting product that we have designed, and that is as a nasal spray. And what that does is it's absorbed by the olfactory nerve, and also the 10th cranial nerve. And that is now going to send the CBD directly from the nervous system to the brain.
Yep.
Affecting neurological situations.
I'm super excited to hear you say that about the nasal spray, because I have always thought that there should be a nasal spray. I even kind of made one up for myself for sinus infections with saline and CBD oil, and those don't mix. But if you shake it hard enough and long enough, it'll do the job and it'll go up there. And it has been a huge help. When we come back from the break, we're going to finish up with Dr. Barry Morrison. Stay with us.
We weren't sure adoption would happen for us, but when it did, it happened threefold.
Mary and her husband first met their 3 children when they became their foster parents. Little did they know that their house would become the siblings' forever home.
We had to help them adjust to the idea that they wouldn't have to leave. Children in foster care have lived and survived so much. We had to help them process their trauma. And now to hear our children say that they know they have a mother and father who take care of us, teach us, and love us means everything.
The Dave Thomas Foundation for Adoption is committed to finding safe, permanent homes for the longest waiting children in foster care.
I not only love these kids, I am just so proud of them.
You can help. Visit davethomasfoundation.org.
John Young is on a Is It Worth It mission.
We're the good guys. Someone must stand and say, you can come no further than this.
Raise the standard.
They got jobs yet?
Not yet. They need to get some.
Join Mr. Mobile's Port City Patriots.
In order to improve, to make a difference, we sit down on our hands and we don't do anything, we'll never be able to improve.
Tonight in Mobile with John Young. Monday nights at 8 on FM Talk 106.5. Welcome back to Sweet Home Cannabama. Now with all the information you want about cannabis, here's your host, Jennifer Boozer.
Welcome back, everybody. We're talking with Dr. Barry Morrison. And Dr. Barry, I want to make sure that we bring this back around. When we talk about pain, we got to talk about pain medicine and opioid addiction. I know Martin, who's been on the show several times, and who connected us. Martin has told me stories about you guys working to get full spectrum CBD to incarcerated veterans who are dealing with opioid addiction and PTSD inside of a cage, and the struggle therein. So tell me a little bit about that.
Well, the situation that we come up with was that, we want to be able to take a look at what can CBD do to make a difference, make a change, whatever, with the addiction to opioids.
Yes.
Now, we take a look at, there's an opioid receptor, and the opioid receptor sits right here, and the CBD travels throughout the system. The CBD then occupies, it covers that receptor. And by covering that receptor, the dopamine, the opioid coming in is trying to get into the receptor to create its change, but it can't get in because the CBD occupies or covers up that space.
Yeah.
And then in turn, the CBD will cause a production of the dopamine in the system to bring it back to a more normal state. So again, homeostasis is what everything always reverts back to. So what we thought is, by looking at the research and looking at all the studies that have been done, what we found and what we saw was that if we can seal up those receptors, the opioid doesn't get in, it's no longer needed, the body's no longer craving it.
Yes.
And by craving it, that's where we run into the problem. But if we can diminish that craving and satisfy enough dopamine to keep the system happy, we're so much farther ahead of the game.
Right.
So we took an individual that was addicted to drugs, had a lot of problems with cocaine and I think heroin. But what she did was she got in trouble with the law, and the law sent her home. And we end up intercepting her, if you want to call it, and started our treatment process with her to take her through as a study. And what we found in that study was absolutely remarkable on the withdrawal that she's always had with going off of a drug.
Yes.
She didn't have any withdrawal symptoms to amount to anything.
Yep.
So it was absolutely amazing with that. Our wheels start turning at that point. Martin said, "Hey, let's go to sheriff's office, a place in Ohio, I believe it was." And what we do is we got in touch with the sheriff, and we got in touch with all the law enforcement, and sat down and had a meeting, and we shared with them what we found and what we think we could do to make a difference and to help them be able to deal with those people that are coming off of their drug addiction.
Right.
And just the cleanup alone was enough for them to open their eyes, because the violent reaction that people have when they come off of a drug that they're addicted to and they've got to have.
Yes, sir.
The violent reaction is just amazing.
It is.
Anyhow, we took a look at all the different aspects of what we could do. We set out a protocol, and we were ready to do a study. But the downfall was that insurance and the regulations that were in place at the time would not allow us to go into the jails or where they were incarcerated.
Yeah.
And work with them for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, or whatever. But it would have given us an opportunity. And now with the executive order that's coming through, I think that there is a definite open door policy that will happen, and we'll be able to get CBD into research. And it's not going to involve a lot because we'll have a captive audience, unfortunately.
Absolutely.
To be able to do that with.
Right. No, well, I'm a recovering opioid addict, and I was 3 years clean when I had discovered CBD, but right away realized what it could do for recovery. And I, like you, I donated CBD to a sober living facility for women and saw people coming in off the street, fresh with IV track marks, meth, heroin, alcohol, benzos, you name it. And it was preventing their withdrawal symptoms. And as a recovering addict, the withdrawal is what keeps people in that slavery of addiction, bound in that situation. It is, because it's on a cellular level. Not only is it diarrhea and vomiting and sweating and all the things, the restlessness, the sleeplessness, but every cell in your body screaming, do what you can to make this stop. And that's why people, if you've never experienced it, and I know just from being able to observe it is horrific. But if you've never experienced it, holy crap, dude. Yep. It is bad. Yep. And when you can remove that, then all those people want to get clean. I wanted to get clean for years, but I didn't, because that pain was waiting for me and I knew it. And so you can eliminate that. Come on, recovery community. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, and all what the dopamine does is it confuses the brain to think that it's got to have more.
Right.
And it's not satisfied with more. It's got to have double that,
right,
triple that. We increase and increase and increase, and it creates more and more complications. And it makes a person feel like they've gotten on the merry-go-round and it's going faster and faster and faster, and they can't get off.
Right.
They don't know how to jump off at this point. But if we can show them how to seal up those receptors,
right, and give them a soft place to land, too, a reasonable and soft place to land where they can experience freedom from that. And I'm telling you, I've seen it with my own eyes. I've lived it. I'm 11 years clean. October was 11 years, and I will never go back. I will never go back because I know I don't have to. Even as a chronic pain patient to this day. And you're right. Life is pain. I'm 47, almost 48 years old. I've had chronic pain issues all my life. It'll never be perfect because I'm a human being. And I think that the myth we were sold in the 90s and the early 2000s about Oxycontin and things like that was that you can be pain-free. And that's just simply not true. But that skipping the withdrawal period and safely being able to detox is an incredible gift to any human being who's going through that kind of suffering.
Yep. Well, and again, it's something that unfortunately we keep going back to the reefer madness process of thinking, and we need to be able to zero that out.
Right.
And I truly feel that that President Trump is leading in that direction, and I think that there's a lot to be said that there's going to be a lot of changes that are going to develop, and we've been held back for whatever reason. I don't know, because of competition with the pharmaceutical world or whatever.
Right.
We have been railroaded to the point that there's a lot of misconception, and we need to clear it up. That's where.
And I think one misconception, I think, for the consumers and for the family members, especially with addiction, is that you can achieve all of that without ever being impaired by the plant product you're using. It doesn't require a massive amount of THC. And like I said, we were giving CBD oil, full spectrum CBD, even some of it broad spectrum for the ones that were still, having a drug test and things like that. But just CBD alone can do that for an addict. And there's never any danger of impairment. There's never any impairment involved in that situation. And I think a lot of people don't understand that. Again, the education around what it isn't is just as important, because a lot of people, I rejected it at first. I'm in recovery. That's weed. I can't do that. Turns out I was so wrong. And if I had just stayed in that lane and someone I trust hadn't told me what I needed to know, who knows where I would be today? I might not still be clean. Being in pain constantly is a hard thing. Tell us how we can find more information about your work, again, about your class, so that people that are listening can find your information, your education, and follow you.
Yeah, I can be reached at Dr. Barry Morrison at gmail.com. If you want to email me, Dr. Barry Morrison at gmail.com. That's doctor as in Dr. Barry Morrison. And our website for the CBD Masterclass is cbdmasterclass.com. You can go on there and read about what we offer, what we have, and like I said, also is we're just getting ready to launch within the next month. We're getting ready to launch our CBD Retail Masterclass also. So that can also be reached by going to the CBD Masterclass.
Thank you so much, Dr. Berry. We're out of time tonight, but thank you so much for your valuable information. Guys, be back next Monday. I don't even know who our guest is going to be yet, but you know it's going to be somebody awesome. And God bless you all. Good night, and God bless American Medical Hemp.
Thank you.